What's up guys, Dice here, and today I wanted to talk a bit about Wuthering Waves and take a look at my account and what I've done over the past year. Maybe even talk about Wuthering Waves in general for a bit. I did mean to make a video much earlier about WoWap, but I either never really had the time or there were times where I felt maybe I should just let my opinion sit a bit, see how I feel about it a few days. But after a whole year, I decided, you know what, let's start hashing out what we got. So far we got, I wanted to show off what my team for Exploring Renacida looked like. This is my favorite character in the game, Camellia. I do have her with the red spring. Now you see the thing is that Shorekeeper pretty much took a good chunk of my gems when she came out. I did swipe for her, and just be absolutely clear early on, I am not free to play in the slightest. So yeah, but I didn't spend that much money, you know, just topped up the max amount, you know, once, maybe twice. Before I get to the echoes, I wanted to go through these skill investments. Now, I am planning on fully maxing out these skills all the way up to 10, even normal attack and intro skills. And I have a thought about that where you could argue it is a bad investment, but the way I see it is that maxing out a character in a game like this isn't just for the extrinsic reason of being able to clear more content or optimize them for X and Y. It's also for the intrinsic reason of you want the character to be at their absolute best potential that you can take them. And for me, that would be maxing out all of this. So I will be going through the weekly boss when it refreshes, you know, kill Dreamless 3 more times for this, and yeah, it's about fine. I don't have any dupes. These games either, like, some games call it Constellations, another game calls it Eidolons, another game calls it Mindscape, another game calls it like Awakening, like Awareness, or I don't, they're dupes. Dupes. If I'm talking dupes, it's dupes. So I don't have any dupes on any of my limited 5 stars. You'll see which 5 stars I did get dupes of when we go to the standards. As for the echoes, I also got to preface one thing. I hate farming echoes. I hate farming the gear grind. I know why it's here. I know it's just a carrot on the stick because developers want you to keep playing it because people always finish the content of every patch before way faster than they intend. But I still do not like farming it. It is annoying as shit. I hate trying to get double crits and then it just flat attack, or maybe we do get double crits but every other substat is just dog shit. So you just end up with a character that's completely mid. My rant aside about how dog shit the gear grind in gacha games is, you do got a crownless here that I would say is alright. We got attack percentage and double crit rate. You're gonna see a lot of these where, throughout all my characters, where they're clearly missing the double crit on some of these. I know like Camellia's 1 cost is double crit here. I do want to eventually get double crit on all of her echoes at the very least, maximize her if no one else, but that is for another time. I do want to try to just at least get the echoes to a point where I can beat content like the Tower of Adversity or holograms without sweating as much as I would if I didn't have the super optimized echoes. Now for Camellia, I run her alongside the Sanhua. I originally did try running her with Cantarella and it was fine, but I think Sanhua is just faster, it's just easier to use. I currently have Sanhua with this Overture that's at rank 1 and level 60, and I really don't feel like leveling it up too much. I think it's just a waste of resources. The echoes are not really maxed out. There's really nothing much to say here, just a lot of energy regen. And I didn't really invest much in her skills. It doesn't feel like you really need to. Of course, she's at S6, because S6 is just when she gets her absolute big bonus. And of course, I got Shorekeeper. Shorekeeper is just the absolute best girl, best support, best everything. I do have her with her weapon, and I will say that yes, her weapon is a bad investment because you don't actually need it. I already have a variation rank 5 that's currently sitting on my Verena. But in my defense, I got her weapon in about, I want to say, 2 multi-pulls, so it didn't cost too much in the end. Overall, it did make building her a lot easier because I think one of these echoes at 3 costs, yeah, is a spectro damage bonus for her big intro skill nuke. She's one of the easier characters to build. with only needing HP, crit damage, and just enough energy regen to reach 245%, I want to say. Yeah, 200. I believe it's 245 that you want to hit with Shorekeeper, or maybe it's 240. I don't remember. Point is, once you reach that, you can just start building her for damage with HP percentage and crit damage. So that's one of the reasons I really like her. You don't have to worry about getting double crits and attack percentage and all that other nonsense. Just all around very easy to build. Another reason why she's so easy to build is because look at this. You don't really have to level up her skills too much. It's really just her intro skills. The only thing I would say is like necessary. Nothing else is that important. I don't have dupes on her, but I am interested in grabbing her first dupe because it does look pretty good. I would say if I were to ever get dupes for any non-Camellia character, it would definitely be Shorekeeper. I think it would be a huge boost in general. I'm not going to go through every single character in my account. I'm just going to highlight a few teams. So this team, Encore, Changli, Shisha, this is my exploration team for Jinzhou. And the real purpose of this team is just to, as you can see here, we got the Ghost Rider Echo. I know it's called some Inferno Rider, but the Ghost Rider Echo, you can just loop this perfectly with all three characters are equipped to it, and you can just keep dashing through the open world. Another reason why I like this a lot is because there's no fall damage when you use it, so you can just ride off a mountain, land perfectly underground, keep going, it runs out, switch to another character. It's pretty good. The Encore here, I do have the String Master equipped on her. I actually ended up with 2 copies of String Master, so if I ever need to use 2 characters with String Master on the same team, it will come in handy. The only problem is that so far I haven't really ran into any teams that want to use a double String Master, but in the future it will be useful. And hey, if nothing else, it means I don't have to switch around the String Master too much. Echoes don't really matter too much on her since I don't really use her for the endgame content. She's just good enough to beat up the guys in the overworld and do exploration, mint picking, all that nonsense. I did have her invested a bit because for a long time she was my only damage dealer in version 1. Will I ever go back to her? Because I did get pity broken and there's a chance I will keep getting pity broken by her in the future. Maybe. I'm gonna be honest though, I'm not super interested in Lupa. I mean, I don't really know what she does, so maybe she'll wow me with her animations or her personality in the story. But so far, I guess if I ever need a fusion damage dealer, I could always just go back to Encore, and it's not a huge deal. I don't think the endgame content is advanced enough in power creep to the point where all the standard characters are literally unusable. Now, Changli, I'll talk about her later when we get to the actual team I use her in. The other team I like using a lot is this one, my Jinxie team. So Jinxie's a character I was really interested in when version 1.1 dropped. I love her animations. I think the way they handled her story was done very well. Overall, she served me very well. Ooh, that's embarrassing. Hold on. Yeah, Jian had her weapon. Okay, hold on. Yeah, so yeah, Jian had her weapon. Yeah, so that's what her stats are supposed to look like. Right. I originally wasn't going to get her weapon, but something I definitely noticed about Wuthering Waves is that a lot of characters really want 5-star weapons here, more so than in other similar gacha games. It's really telling because this game does give you a guaranteed weapon on the weapon banner. It does give you a free standard 5-star when you reach level 40, I think it was. I don't remember, but yeah, there's a milestone where you get to pick up a free standard 5-star, and all the standard banner pulls you get, they basically all have to go on the standard weapons, in my opinion, because they absolutely offer the best investment long term for your account. It's not having the 5-star weapons just feels really bad to play. Her echoes, I would say they're all right. There's definitely some that are double crit, but there's definitely lacking in a lot of areas. I do think my Jinxie's attack is a bit on the low side, at least compared to a lot of DPSs. I don't know if that's really normal of her specifically. I know Yinlin also has pretty low attack, but I guess Yinlin's has a more supporter type role, sub DPS, I guess, as most would call it. Her skills are basically invested about as well as they ever will be. I don't think I ever have a reason to invest in this. Thankfully, I picked up Cantarella in the previous patch for scientific reasons. I do have her with the String Master, as you can see. She has very, very high crit rate. She is carrying the coordinated attack set, allowing her to buff Jinxi's damage even further. Overall, very, very good choice I made picking up Cantarella here. Here's what her skills look like. All maxed out in the middle section and 6 on both sides. No dupes on her. From what I heard, everything I read online says that Juju is better than Cantarella, but there's also other things I read, like that Cantarella is at least close enough in performance where it doesn't really matter which one is objectively better than the other. You can just run one or the other, and it's basically the same thing. It's not gonna cause a huge amount of difference. Obviously, I just run this team with Shorekeeper because why wouldn't you? The other team I have is what is, in my opinion, the most fun team to play in this game. Also hard as balls. I remember when version 2.0 rolled around, and I thought to myself, I can't justify spending more on this game. But then Carlotta came out, and she was extremely fun to play. I really enjoyed her companion quest in the story. Obviously, she's gorgeous. I mean, what else could I say? I did not get her weapon. I will be fixing that for this next upcoming patch when her banner comes back in the next round of the anniversary. I don't think her weapon is really that necessary, I would say, but I enjoy playing Carlotta enough where I definitely want to take her gameplay to the next level. And in order to do that, I believe the best investment would definitely be her weapon here. I also got her echoes, as you can see. There's like pretty bad in the crit rate side. This construct, it's alright. It does have double crit, so I can't really complain too much. Everything else is, ooh boy, yeah, really need to improve on that. This one's like mid, I guess. It has double crit rate. I really don't want to reform another crit rate set. She's worked very, very well for me. This is what I have her skills with. It's very similar to Jinxie, where it's not fully maxed, but I am satisfied with keeping her here as is. For her dupes, like I said, I don't really plan on getting dupes for any character other than Camellia and maybe S1 on the Shorekeeper. Changli is definitely a character it's pretty interesting because when 1.1 rolled over, I originally did want to get her, but I was definitely not spending money within like the first month that the game comes out. Come on, that's ridiculous. And I do have a friend of mine that does play this game. He told me, dude, you have to get Changli and try her out with Carlotta. It's very difficult, but it's super fun. And my god, I'm glad I listened to him. The quick swap playstyle is like really sweaty and it's crazy, but it's very satisfying. I absolutely love playing this team. So Changli has the standard sword. I don't think I really miss her weapon. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know what her weapon does. I don't remember what the effects are on it. But at the very least, if I were to ever get her weapon, it's pretty low on the list of priorities of limited weapons to get. Especially since I don't really plan on spending too much in this game. As for her echoes, they could be better. Again, I don't want to repeat it too much, but yeah, like I said, I don't really like farming too much. Like, he does have double crits here and there, but other than that, definitely could stand to be a bit better investment. Her skills are definitely doing pretty well, I would say. I guess maybe I could just keep raising the liberation, but it's not something that I think is gonna increase the overall performance by that much. And of course, here's my Verena, which I usually run her on the 2 sides of the tower, while Shorekeeper's usually on the middle side. He is holding the variation rank 5, just the exception to the rule of 4-star and below weapons being bad. And I just have her with a big energy set. Not much else to say there. I did invest in her skills a little bit, but in all honesty, I feel like she's one of those characters that doesn't really need investment. Her liberation's what? This just increases their skill damage. It doesn't really change much. I never got pity broken by Verena. She was the character I picked up at the beginning, because at the very beginning of the game, they give you a random 5-star. I got Ling Yan, rip. And then they gave everyone a ticket that gave you a choice of a free standard 5-star. I picked up Encore for that because I really wanted a main DPS and I just did not want to use Ling Yan. And then I just chose Verena as my standard focus because essentially you have 3 standard characters to pick from in this game. So for the other team, we have my Electro set. Okay, so my usual teams are these 3. And so for the next teams are teams I don't really play as often, but I do dabble into every now and then. So I do have Shangli Yao that I picked up for free from version 1.2. Now, I gotta be honest, I have not been logging in as consistently as I could have every single day, but I did manage to pick up Shangli Yao. I have a 4-star weapon on him, and it works fine. See, my problem is that if I were to pick up the standard gauntlets, which are obviously way better than a rank 1 Stonard, then he'd be missing about 20% crit rate, and just the thought of this crit rate going back down to 46% just irks me. It's to the point where I definitely would rather just say fuck it and get the pulse for his personal weapon. I'm not gonna go for that just yet, since again, I don't really play this team that much. But if the next time Shangli Yao gets a rerun, there aren't any other Electro characters that interest me more than him, then I'll just bite the bullet and get his personal. His Echo set, it's alright, I guess. Again, like, not much else to say here. Just my Echo luck is just very mid all around. He's fairly well invested in skills. And no dupes here. Overall, this does pretty well against the electric weak side of the towers whenever I need to fight him. Yinlin, she's like, ooh, wait, she doesn't have her String Master. That's, yikes. So Yinlin is the first character in the game I was really interested in. And that's actually something I wanted to talk about, because when Wuthering Waves first came out, there wasn't really any character I was super interested in. I mean, obviously, like, Yinlin's hot and all that, but when I play a gacha game, there really have to be characters that really grab my attention in order for me to truly stick with them. And there wasn't really anyone like that in Wuwa. When I originally started the game, it was mostly interested in for the gameplay, also because a friend of mine was really hyping this game up, that this was going to change everything. I remember not distinctively holding off all my limited pulls until Yinlin showed up. It's funny because Yinlin's banner actually got moved up, so that ended up appearing earlier than it was supposed to. That was very interesting. Like I said, I got 2 copies of the String Master. One's on here, and the other one is on, well, not you, on Cantarella. So we got 2 String Masters total. I have no idea when that's ever gonna be useful, 2 String Masters in a team, but if it ever does, I am armed and ready. So her Echo set, I would say it's definitely a lot better than my usual Echo set luck. But again, I don't really run this team as much anymore, so not the craziest thing. I could do better with her skills, but I don't really play this team that much. Maybe eventually, if there's another Electro character I'm super interested in. It's not like I'm not interested in Shangli Yao. I think he's pretty cool and I like his gameplay, but it's more so that this is usually like the 4th or 5th best team for me to run. And you usually have a choice of just 3 teams in the tower, so there really aren't many times where I can make him shine, I mean. Those are the 5 character slots we have here. I'm just gonna switch back to Camellia real quick like. I'm not gonna go through every single character because, like, oh boy, a lot of these are just unleveled and you're gonna stay unleveled. I don't know, maybe you're pretty cool, but regardless. We got our hero, ladies and gentlemen, the rover himself. So just to go over each rover here quickly. For Spectro, he is my least used rover. See, he is completely uninvested. S6, max dupes. and I don't have a dedicated Echo set for him. In Spectral mode, I mean. For Havoc set, I do actually have him invested, and honestly, I wouldn't say he's difficult to play. I think he's definitely fairly easy to play. It's more so that Havoc Rover tends to be overshadowed by a lot of other Havoc characters like Camellia, even Dungeon. But he's really fun to play, honestly. I managed to 3-star one side of the tower thanks to him, Dungeon, and Verena. He's just really good. I remember giving him, I believe it was Camellia's weapon. Dungeon had the standard sword. And I just swapped the Echoes over to like this Havoc DPS set that Camellia's wielding right now. At the moment, I have him with the Arrow set, as you saw with the Echoes. And earlier, I maxed out the sword, and I have a lot of his skills leveled. Obviously, we don't have many dupes on him, so this is as high as he's going to go. Now, you're probably wondering, why did I level up Arrow Rover when he is objectively the worst character in the game right now? And the real easy, I mean, I could just cop out and say, well, I want to level him up for Cartetia because he's obviously going to be her best in slot support, so making him leveled up is a good investment for the future. But in all honesty, no, that's actually bullshit. The real reason is because of version 2.2 storyline. My God, I won't say what happened there in case you haven't played through that yet, but dude, when I said that I usually have an intrinsic reason for wanting to level up characters because I like them, Arrow Rover definitely won me over in that ending cutscene of 2.2. That's all I'm gonna say. It's just phenomenal. I don't care. I don't care. I know he's probably the worst character in the game, but I don't care. I will make him work in some way, somehow. Dungeon's usually the other character I have alongside Rover. We give her the standard sword, like I said. She's already holding her own Havoc Echo set, which it's all right, but it works for what I need her to. She's decently invested, definitely could be better, but at the moment she doesn't need to be that much better. I know that okay, so I have the max dupes on her. I know that there are a lot of people that are huge Dungeon fans, and you know, the Dungeon mains have a reputation for beating every hologram using a Guitar Hero controller and all that craziness, but she's very fun, but not someone I would solo the game with. But I'll admit, she's really fun to play. Okay, so kudos to all the Dungeon mains out there. Tauchi's a character that, well, was the first one to catch my attention for no reason in particular. And I tried to make her work. I tried forming like a defense Dark Echo set. I also had Moonlit for a while and ran her with Carlotta. I have max dupes on her. Maybe someday I'll revisit her. Maybe someday I'll try to work something out. But yeah, at the moment, she's very low on the list of priorities, but I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for her being one of the first real characters I invested in. I think she was my first level 90 now that I think about it. John Woo, I didn't really level him up too much. I just gave him this set. He also had his own like healer set here. The reason why I did this is because I remember him being the sort of budget option for Jinxie, and for a while he actually worked out pretty well, I would say. Problem is that you really start to feel just how weak that team is when you go up to higher levels of the tower, because the team's personal damage is entirely reliant on Jinxie when you just have her with John Woo and Verena. John Woo has max dupes, no investments whatsoever other than he's in the middle. And there's really not much else to say. Baija is sort of invested in, but I don't play her that much. Yang Yan is kind of fun to play, but again, she's probably like very low on the list of priority. Yoo-Hoo, I tested her out, max dupes and everything, but again, very low list of priority, and the characters I would want to max out. The first 4-star, so as you notice, I probably have all the 4 stars fully maxed out. Well, not all of them. I think Lumi is like absolutely no dupes whatsoever, and I believe Yan Yang is missing the last 2. So the journey here in Wuthering Waves was really interesting because, like I said earlier, there wasn't really anyone specific I was interested in, but when I first played version 1.1, I was really impressed by how they really made the exploration in this game. They just took a lot of cues from not just other open world gacha games, but just open world games in general, and really made the exploration. I have a good chunk of Jinjo finished up. Now, I know it could be better, especially since this area's been out since version 1. I would say I did overall fairly well. I'm not really a super duper completionist when it comes to 100%ing open world games, even outside of the gacha game genre. But considering gacha games always give you gems and rewards and stuff so you can pull for more characters, I definitely want to go for it. Of course, I have maxed out the Black Shores, and Rina Sita has much better completion than Huanglong over here. I mean, what can I even say that hasn't been said? They improved in Rina Sita so much. It really felt like a relaunch. Just flying alone made the game so much better, and just all the quality of life features they made to make exploration even more seamless than ever before is so good that I think the WoA devs unironically ruined Jinjo, because Renacita's exploration is so good that it made people, when they go back to Jinjo, just feel like, oh no, this feels like dragging my nuts over broken glass. I don't want to do this. So after a whole year of Wuthering Waves, I gotta say, the first time I played version 1.1, the exploration was really good. But what about, of course, the main reason we're all here playing these stupid phone games? The characters. And the story. But, well, obviously it's mostly the characters, but let's be real, the story is a huge part of this. I distinctly remember, I think it was closed beta test 2, I believe, where a friend of mine who's been following WoA ever since it got announced, he told me on Discord, bad news, WoA story is dog shit. It's bad, it's horrible, it killed my mom, it killed my dad, it killed my dog, it killed my goldfish. It was bad. It was just really bad. And see, it's actually very interesting because I guess you could argue that, I mean, who gives a fuck about the story in a video game, especially in a phone game? Say, you know, that there's that old saying that goes, see, video games are like porn. If it has a good story, then amazing, but let's be real, that's not why you're here. And my counter argument to that is that, one, Wuthering Waves is an RPG. RPGs generally have a much higher standard for video game storytelling, as these are often seen as the genre that you go to for good storytelling. And another reason why people have very high expectations and standards for the story of Wuthering Waves is because of... Okay, so I know you Wuthering Waves fans out there are probably tired as fuck of constantly hearing this game's name, but Genshin Impact. So Genshin Impact, okay, let's be real. As someone who's played Genshin Impact for years myself, Genshin Impact doesn't have the best story in games or even gacha games, but at the very least, I will say this, Genshin Impact has a story and characters that a lot of people feel very strongly about. One, either because they, as in strongly in the sense that they really get sucked into the world and characters. I know people that are still playing the game to this day, people that have C2 R1 Mabuika, and they spend money on her, and they spend money on Escoffier, and are absolutely going to spend money on Skirk. And even if the story and characters in that game are not the absolute best, a lot of people feel very strongly attached to that world and to those characters. So if another open world gacha game wants to compete with Genshin and compete in that same level with, try to grab attention from those players, then it needs to bring in its A game. It either needs to match or surpass the quality that Genshin has established itself for all these years. So what do I think about the quality of Wuthering Waves story? At least in version 1.1 when I played it, and I thought to myself, it's all right, I guess. It wasn't terrible. So going back to how terrible the story in closed beta test 2 was, that same friend that warned me that the story in closed beta test 2 was trash also told me that the devs for WoA had a recent developer conference where they went Hey, yo, guys, guess what? We heard you. The story is trash. So we all know what we did. We took 80% of the cutscenes and we threw it in the fucking garbage. We're rewriting most of this. And honestly, I remember just reading about that and just being shocked because the fact that this game took 80% of its story, 80% of all the established things it already had, and just threw them away less than a year before it was set to come out. That's not normal. It's hard for me to even call it impressive. That's just lunacy. Any developer would, if you as a developer told your boss you were gonna throw away 80% of the story shit you did, he would have just tell you to go fuck yourself. I just can't imagine how did they even convince their bosses to do this, but honestly, I'm glad they did. Let me elaborate a bit more on that, because I know that there are some people that, I know that there's some cutscenes that leaked out about closed beta test 2, and they said, oh, no, but actually the cutscene, the story was way better because of X and Y, or X character, Y character appeared. And the truth is, I don't think any of us really know for sure if the story itself was objectively going to be better had they just not changed it. Because the matter of fact is that the story was not received very well at all. And if all you constantly hear about is just negative publicity about, oh no, Wuwa's story's dog shit, it's bad, it's worse than Genshin, it's bad, then I'm gonna tell you right now, a lot of people were just not gonna try this game out at all. So ultimately did more good for the game in the long run than it harmed it. Now, there are a few scenes that I will admit are a shame that we didn't get. There's a scene where we see Scar blowing someone up and him just laughing maniacally. I don't know really the context of that scene. It could be that it's just not very necessary. I mean, we kind of get it from just the story content of Scar as it is in version 1. I don't think we really needed that scene, but having more scenes where we see just the negative effect that the Fractidus have in the world would have gone a long way to fully establish them as villains. And I think that the version 1 story already did a pretty good job of establishing them as villains, but having something more of their destruction happen on a more personal level, the way they killed someone individually and the way they behaved around it, definitely would have gone a long way to really establish the threat they posed to Rover and his journey. Another thing that is definitely a disappointment, although I might counter argument about how much of a disappointment it is the fact that we're missing a lot of cutscenes for a lot of characters. So you already know how there's a lot of characters that either barely appear in the story, or in the case of Yuan Wu, they just appear at the end of the game in the big Avengers Assemble moment, that we're expected to already be familiar with him, even though we really aren't. Then I'd say that, yeah, that definitely did harm the game ultimately, because it does expect us to care a lot more about the characters that I ultimately ended up caring. And another example is just there's a scene where Kalkaro and Danjin appear, and I don't really know the context of that scene. Honestly, from what little I saw, it pretty much just looks like Kalkaro's aura farming, and that's it. I guess if you're a huge fan of Kalkaro and Danjin, it is a shame that they don't appear at all in the story anymore compared to the little they used to appear. But personally, I would prefer that the characters I like actually get important shit to do in the story rather than just simply aura farming. Now, so going back to how I felt about version 1 of the story, I thought it was fairly fine. It felt very stock standard, nothing too crazy, but nothing too, nothing awful, I would say. Someone who's played through the year 1 content of FGO way back when FGO first came out, I can promise you that I definitely know what a bad gacha game story looks like. And trust me, it's nowhere near that bad. It's really the worst thing you can say about the worst parts of Wuwa's story is that it's just mid, which ultimately isn't a bad. It's not like I said, it's not bad, just not, it's like a C student just barely passing by. What really kept me going and what really woke me up during version 1.1 was Scar. Before he popped up in the story, a lot of the story was really just a whole lot of exposition from characters that weren't that interesting. And believe me, Look, like I said, I'm a Fate fan. I love long exposition scenes where you get to learn about just how detailed the world is. Like, oh yeah, give me that good shit. I love that shit. But ultimately, I need to care more about the characters in order to care about the world they live in. And it feels like Wuwa jumped the gun a bit too much. I would have preferred having more personal stakes in before they started lore dumping about the Sentinels and all that jazz. Now, when Scar appeared, however, that was a huge wake-up call. Suddenly, there was a real threat popping up in front of us, and just Scar himself was a lot more vibrant and just more lively than every other character we've seen before. He was just great. Please, Kuro Games, give us playable Scar. I beg you, let him out of prison. Another highlight from version 1 was honestly Gion. So I just realized I did not talk about Gion. But yeah, I do use him. I do use Gion here. Now, originally I did skip out on Gion's banner, but ultimately I decided to pull his follow-up rerun, specifically around the time where is she? Around the time Yoo-Hoo first came out, because it coincided with Gion's rerun, and I did successfully win the 50-50 in about, I want to say 20-30 pulls. So he definitely arrived very early, and honestly I'm glad for it, because his story was definitely another highlight from version 1, seeing the regrets he has and the way he bonds with Rover. It really did contribute to the likable characters in version 1. Crazy, right? The best characters of version 1 were the two guys. Oh my god. I'm not gonna talk about how I felt about every single version, because there's been a lot of them and we'd be here all day. I don't want to make this video too long, but ultimately when version 1.1 rolled over, it was like night and day. Suddenly, even the music felt better. I haven't talked about the music at all, but the music in version 1 of Wuwa felt okay. It was pretty bland, I would say. It wasn't that crazy to get hyped about. And the music is something that I value a lot in gacha games, because some of the best music experiences I've had in video games has definitely been from gacha games. A great example I can think of is just the way the OST in the Lost Belt arc of FGO really brought about the mood and how serious everything has gotten. Another example is Dragalia. I think Dragalia, rest in peace, had some of the best music in the genre. And of course, I can't talk about gacha game music without talking about Genshin. Yu Peng Cheng deserves to go to a chiropractor, because I'm pretty sure he damn near broke his back carrying that game. It's just, the music in that game is just phenomenal. I think a highlight for me is just the music that plays when you fight Zhongli's pet turtle. That boss fight, it's trash. I hated that boss fight every second of doing it. But the music, oh my god, it was incredible. Just this like Chinese opera, this blaring out, it was insane. I don't know how he did it. It was incredible. Now that Yu Pen Cheng isn't working exclusively for Hoyoverse, I hope he gets to do other video game music, because he could definitely be like a sort of Nobuo Uematsu, but from China sort of deal. So going back to Wuwa, the music definitely got much better starting from version 1.1. The characters and the storytelling got much better, and the characters are a lot more likable. One of the reasons I wanted to pull for Jinxie and her sword was because I really enjoyed her story in version 1.1 that much. And while not every single version update has been a banger, I think version 1.2 was okay. It was just alright. It wasn't that crazy. It wasn't insane, but it also wasn't bad. It was just kind of middle of the road. But every version update, I would say the quality has definitely been going up. I'd say this all culminated in version 2.0. Oh my god, that was a relaunch in every sense of the word. That's when the PS5 release happened. That's when Carlotta came out, the new, and Renacita. You can just skip through the version 1 story and do it, and just experience all the new mechanics and exploration, all the quality of life features that area introduced. It was amazing. It was just incredible. And the story was so much better. I would argue the story of version 2 has been the best WoW has had to offer. Not to say that version 2.2 is bad or anything, but it's a close second place, I would say. But I still remember just how incredibly hyped I got playing through the story of 2.0 and thinking, yep, this game found it. This game has the sauce. But obviously, let's just not ignore version 2.2. I mean, what can I say that hasn't been said about that? That was a phenomenal story chapter. I remember not really being too jazzed about Cartethia when she was first revealed. I thought, she's cute, but I can just skip her over for other characters, I say, or save up. And my god, the way the story just developed and just showed off what she went through was great. And the music, I think the music in version 2.2 has been the absolute best WoW has had to offer, just on an emotional level, on a grandiose level. It has been amazing. Overall, I'm very excited for version 2.4 and seeing just where does the story continue from here, because I noticed that they're definitely going for a sort of system where we get a story focused patch, and then we go for a filler patch, and then we go for a story patch. I guess it is kind of annoying that the anniversary landed on a filler patch. I think it would have been better, or at least the way I would have baited, is swap around version 2.2 with the anniversary patch, because overall it really does feel like the only reason the anniversary patch is taking place as it is right now is because Zanny just so happened to be the most popular character of the version 2.0 cast. Of course, I know that that's not a perfect solution, because let's be real, having 2 filler patches in a row, it probably wouldn't be a good look, but I still think it would have been much better to have the anniversary have something a lot more grandiose take place in terms of story content. Now, in terms of pulling plans, I do plan on pulling for Chacona and Carlotta's weapon. Okay, so here's the thing. Just from looking at Arrow Rover's unique sword and Chacona's stats that you can see in the menu here. Let me see if I can find it. It's in gallery, right? Yeah, so we go to gallery, we go to the characters here, and just from looking at Chacona's outro skill and just her like abilities in general, we know she's gonna buff arrow characters, and all of these context clues, plus with Cartethia being announced being arrow, it pretty much tells you she's going to be the support character you want if you want to play Cartethia and Arrow Rover at their absolute best. So, but ultimately, we don't know how tied to Chacona Cartethia is going to be. Maybe it'll be like a Zani situation where if you really want to bring out the absolute max potential out of her, you definitely want to pull for Chacona together with Cartethia. Or maybe it'll be a lot more free-to-play friendly, and even the free-to-play option won't be too far behind. Maybe it'll be like Roshia and Camellia, where Roshia is better than Sanhua for Camellia, but if you have an S6 Sanhua, then it's not really a huge deal. You can still run the free-to-play team just fine. As for Lupa, I'm gonna have to see what her animations look like, what her skills do, and what all that crazy nonsense about her is all about. Because I don't mind playing her along with Changli, but I really need to see just what her kit does and how her gameplay feels like. There is one other character I was gonna be thinking of pulling for now that I'm talking about kits, and it is Brant. So Brant is a character I originally wasn't gonna pull for, and in all honesty, I don't really regret not pulling for him. But I recently did some of the combat events that have come here and now, and I will admit that, yeah, Brant is pretty fun to play. My best explanation for why I don't want to pull for him is because, one, I'm not sure how reliant he is on his own personal weapon compared to just giving him the standard 5-star sword, and even then, if you give him the standard 5-star sword, then what's Chang Li gonna have? You know, I would have to pull for a limited sword eventually, either him or Chang Li's. And there's just, on a more personal level, Brant's design wasn't really something I enjoyed that much. I don't think it's bad, but conceptually, Brant is supposed to be more of a pirate, and I really like pirates, but I prefer them looking less like Bartholomew Roberts FGO and more Blackbeard FGO. Just more dirty, rugged, maybe much older than what Brant is. Again, it's like it's not a huge issue for me, but that is a reason why I eventually skipped them. I know gacha games technically have to make all their characters look very young and pretty because that's what sells the most for their respective audiences, but that's why Brant's design originally didn't appeal to me as much as some of the other characters in Renacida did. And with that out of the way, I think I about covered everything I wanted. So that's a trip through my account. Oh wait, hold on. I forgot. I haven't shown how I cleared Tower of Adversity. So for the Tower of Adversity, we got... Wait, what the fuck? Where? Okay, here we go. So Tower of Adversity, I got 30 stars this cycle. And the first time I ever 30 starred the tower was in the previous cycle. I would have liked to clear it earlier. I think I could have cleared it earlier, but again, I said I don't log into Wuwa every single day. And to be quite honest, I take this game fairly casually, question mark. I mean, I definitely take it a lot more serious than an actual casual person would. What the fuck? Where's Wiwa? Hold on. I'm lost. Yeah. Gotta find Wiwa. Wiwa's like all the way up here, right? Yeah. The way I see endgame content is more so a way to test out how good the characters I like are. And ultimately, I want to max out the potential of the characters I like. I want to make sure that they are the absolute best value they can be, at least within my own abilities. I'm not gonna sweat too much if I can't 30-star the Abyss, or if I can't fully get all the rewards in Wiwa. But I will try to make that a primary goal. So that's about it. I got the endgame content covered up, and I got just about every relevant character in my account, as well as my thoughts on the story. So let me know what you guys think. I do enjoy streaming Wuwa from time to time, so let me know if you guys like that, and leave a like, comment, subscribe to my video, and I see you guys next time. Take care.